They say kids wearing red hoodies at night are either trouble or just waiting for their first real chance to be. That's what Greg Hanley told the courtroom sharp, steady, looking right through me like he knew the game was his before it even started. Bet your dad's out there somewhere, probably drifting around just like you, he said, and if you could hear the way his words rang, you'd know this wasn't about law. This was about power and the way it slides around the room when no one's willing to catch it. The slap that followed? It was so loud I swear the clock stopped. But Greg had no clue what he'd just set in motion, and he sure didn't see my father walk in after polished shoes, black suit, the whole room falling silent like someone finally decided justice was about to show up for real. The morning they brought me in, the benches were cold, the lights bright and harsh, and I just sat there cuffed, hoodie wrinkled, trying not to look as small as I felt. Nobody bothered to explain why a kid was sitting there at sunrise, hands bound, thirsty as hell. Just paperwork shuffling, doors opening and closing, everyone pretending the chill came from the air conditioner and not from what they were choosing not to see. When Greg finally walked in, blue uniform pressed, so tight you could hear the threads fighting to stay together, he didn't even go to the stand. He just stopped, hands on his hips, tilting his head like he was checking the quality of some old product. "Already dealing with some punk kid this early, huh?" Greg said, loud enough for everyone to hear, and I knew everyone knew nobody would say a word back. He was the law in there, at least until the real thing showed up. I kept my eyes on the wall, breath slow, refusing to hunch or challenge. I just waited, counting every second, every step he took my way. Greg liked to laugh short, sharp, the kind that makes your skin prickle. And in that space, with no lawyer, no judge, just me and him and a few scared faces, I realized he thought he could do anything he wanted. He thought no one would push back. That's the trick with power sometimes. Just not bowing is enough to tip the scales. He leaned in, elbows on the table, finger in my face. "I'm guessing your dad's out there, somewhere probably on the run, just like you." I could see the gold tooth glint as he smiled, the kind of smile that earned him his nickname among the other officers. For Greg, authority was just another show. He didn't care about my name, my story, nothing but that red hoodie and the story it told him. So I turned my head, slow and careful, not to show defiance, but just to let him know he didn't scare me. "Are you aware you're speaking to a minor inside a courtroom?" My voice was steady calm. For a split second, something flickered in his eyes, a flash of doubt. But he covered it quick with sarcasm. "Maybe I forgot. This is the new justice, where some punk kids play mind games better than lawyers." Then he laughed. Only this time it was quieter, like even he heard how hollow it sounded. A court interpreter entered, placed some files, locked eyes with me for just a moment, then looked away. Greg just kept at it, talking for the record, for the staff, for anyone who might care. I arrested him because he looked like trouble. Red hoodie, 2 a.m., no ID. That's not coincidence, that's threat. No one interrupted. Not even when he said, "Kids like that, roaming in hoodies at night, are either criminals or about to be." It wrapped the room in a logic so old it felt fossilized. But someone did notice the interpreter. Mid-30s, deep-set eyes, standing at the edge of the room, just listening. When I leaned over, quiet as I could, and asked, "Does everyone here get arrested for wearing the wrong color shirt?" She didn't answer, but her shoulders dropped a little, like the weight of the truth had finally settled. Greg didn't care. He kept talking, the same as always. "Your mom didn't show up, Mabe. She's avoiding justice, just like you." The room froze. The only sound was the tapping of keys, the tightening of hands, the kind of silence that's too heavy to move. When he shoved my shoulder, I didn't react. That's what really bothered him, not that I talked back, but that I refused to give him what he wanted: fear, anger, something he could use. An old man behind us wiped his glasses, leaned forward for a better look, but Greg turned away before he could be seen. And then a slap. Raw, hot, not a warning, just a reflex. Greg's palm caught my cheek, forced my head sideways, cuffs biting into my wrists. I didn't cry out. I just turned back, not from pain, but from knowing what judgment disguised as law really felt like. Everyone saw the officer by the door, the clerk, the woman in gray, but no one said a word. That silence wasn't confusion, it was calculation. who want to be the first to step out of line. But here's the twist. That silence, that refusal to look, is what broke Greg, not the slap. Because a legal intern, young and fresh, had set his phone to record caught the moment, the slap, the pause after. By that night, the clip was on the courthouse staff network, then the Redstone Daily, then everywhere. If slapping a bad kid is what it takes to teach the law, I'd do it again, Greg said to the press, thinking he'd find support. For the first time, he was wrong. The comments split, the system shifted, and people started digging through old cases looking for every place he'd been allowed to work unchecked. In a holding cell, the noise of the outside world trickled in, protesters wearing red hoodies, parents and daughters, old women holding signs about segregation, students with handmade boards. If this is justice, justice needs a lawyer. And for the first time, I realized that maybe my silence wasn't just mine, maybe it was the last thing keeping them from having to face what they'd always ignored. Then a man in the black suit came back me, father, but to the room, he was the law they actually had to answer to. He didn't raise his voice, didn't ask for sympathy. He just placed his badge on the bench, said, "The victim is my son. I'll be representing him." The power in the room shifted so hard you could feel in your chest. Greg tried to shout it down, claim procedure, but my father just laid out the report. 3 past cases: excessive force, bias, obstruction. FBI stamped, undeniable. The judge read it, handshaking. The silence that followed was different, thicker, more honest. No one wanted to defend Greg. He was on his own, exposed by his own words, his own habits. I looked at my father, finally feeling like someone saw Minute as a case, not as a risk, but as a kid who shouldn't have had to take that hit alone. The press conference that followed didn't use names. The headlines did. Officer who slapped black teen in court permanently banned. And it was more than just Meather. Reports surfaced, other voices joined in, and it was like a wall finally started to crack. At the end, I stood before a review, bored white shirt, borrowed tie, palms sweating but my voice clear. I don't need pity, I just need to be treated right. I was handcuffed before anyone asked what I did. Called trash before I had a lawyer. Slapped in a courtroom before anyone read me my rights. I told them, if you want to change one thing, start with how you define suspicious, because if skin color and a red hoodie make me a threat, any one of you could be next. Afterwards, as I walked out, the room didn't see me as a suspect anymore. Not a hero, either, just a citizen with a name. The mural that appeared downtown, spray-painted with my image, wasn't about glory. It was a reminder. Justice doesn't begin with a verdict, it starts with how you see a child. So here's my question, and maybe it's one you need to answer for yourself. When a law fails to protect, when silence becomes the biggest threat, do you look away, or do you stand up no matter who's wearing the badge? Because this time, silence wasn't enough to keep the truth buried. If you have something to say about justice, about where it breaks and how it gets fixed, I want to hear it. Let's talk about what really needs to change before the next red hoodie walks into another courtroom alone.